Just got into the habit of starting to write personal checks without having any money in the bank.
Oh.
And the more I did that, the more confidence I built up that I could do it.
In the quaint, sun-dappled streets of New Rochelle, New York, a boy named Frank William Abagnale was born into an existence marked by the comforting rhythms of middle-class life. It was April 27, 1948, and the world lay before him, unmarred and promising. His father, a successful stationery store owner, and his mother, Paulette, of French-Algerian descent, provided a home filled with love and stability. Frank Jr., the third of 4 children, grew up in the shadow of a father whose entrepreneurial spirit was as vast as the ocean he loved to fish. Beneath the surface of Frank Abagnale Jr.'s seemingly idyllic upbringing, the year 1960 marked the onset of profound transformation within the walls of the Abagnale home. It was a period not of tranquil continuity, but of seismic shifts that would forever alter the trajectory of young Frank's life. The family, once a cohesive and united front, began to unravel, thread by delicate thread, as the winds of change howled through the corridors of their existence, carrying with them the chill of discord and disarray. Frank Sr. and Paulette, once pillars of unity in their son's eyes, found themselves caught in the tumultuous currents of discontent. The outward prosperity and success of the stationery business masked a growing chasm between the couple, a chasm widened by unspoken grievances and unmet needs. Frank Sr., absorbed in his pursuits of local politics, deep-sea fishing, and the vibrant social scene of the New York Yacht Club, often found himself away from the family hearth, his presence more spectral than substantial. For young Frank and his siblings, the unraveling of their parents' marriage was not a sudden catastrophe, but a slow erosion of the familiar. The realization that their mother, Paulette, was not the contented housewife they had imagined, but a woman yearning for independence and self-realization, came as a shock that reverberated through the fabric of their daily lives. The home, once a haven of predictability and warmth, became a theater of silent battles and unvoiced longings. The day Frank Sr. returned from his overseas marlin fishing adventure to an empty house marked a pivotal moment in the family's saga. The departure of Paulette and the children was a silent scream of defiance against a marital dynamic that had become unsustainable. Frank Sr.'s world, once so assured and unassailable, crumbled under the weight of this seismic shift. His attempts to bridge the chasm, to win back the affections of his beloved Paulette, were met with the resolute finality of her decision. Her enrollment in dental college was not merely an act of personal growth, but a declaration of independence from a life that no longer aligned with her aspirations. Yet, amid the fragments of his fractured family life, young Frank began to internalize a profound lesson: that the world was not a fixed and immutable place, but a canvas upon which one could paint their own reality. The dissolution of his parents' marriage, while a source of pain and confusion, also planted the seeds of ingenuity and resourcefulness that would come to define his extraordinary journey. In the depths of uncertainty, Frank Abagnale Jr. discovered not only the fragility of the familial bonds, but also the boundless potential of the human spirit to adapt, survive, and ultimately, to thrive. In the tumultuous aftermath of his parents' separation, young Frank Abagnale made a pivotal choice that would shape the course of his future. Opting to live with his father, Frank found himself at the threshold of a world vastly different from the nurturing, disciplined embrace of his mother's care. The decision marked the beginning of an unconventional education, as the vibrant streets and dimly lit bars of New York City became his new classrooms. Within these urban confines, Frank would learn lessons no traditional school could impart. As he navigated this new reality, Frank's life transformed into a tapestry woven with the intricate threads of adult complexities. The clinking of glasses and the hushed tones of deals being struck in the shadows of bars became the soundtrack to his adolescence. Frank Sr., with his expansive network of business connections and political ties, inadvertently became his son's guide through the labyrinth of the adult world. It was a world where charisma and wit could open doors, and where the right words at the right time could seal a deal or dissolve tensions. Amidst this backdrop, Frank's perception of life began to shift. The city, with its relentless pace and unforgiving nature, was a far cry from the sheltered existence he had known. Yet, it was in the undercurrents of the city's relentless energy that Frank discovered a profound truth. The world was not a rigid construct, but a malleable reality, susceptible to the influence of a sharp mind and a persuasive personality. Under his father's unintentional tutelage, Frank honed his observational skills, learning to read the subtleties of human behavior and the unspoken language of business dealings. The bars, often frequented by influential figures of the city, were arenas where power plays unfolded and alliances were forged over drinks. In these establishments, Frank witnessed the art of negotiation and the delicate dance of persuasion. He absorbed the nuances of adult interactions, understanding that every gesture, every word, carried weight and meaning. This unconventional education instilled in Frank a precocious understanding of the adult world's complexities. He saw firsthand the disparities between appearances and reality, between the facades people presented and their true intentions. It was a world where survival hinged not on physical strength, but on mental agility and the ability to adapt and manipulate one's surroundings. As Frank's worldview expanded, so did his aspirations. No longer content to be a mere observer, he yearned to test the limits of his newfound knowledge. The city had unveiled before him a vast panorama of possibilities, and he was eager to explore the extent of his influence in this malleable world. With each passing day, the lessons he learned from the bars and streets of New York quietly sculpted the contours of his identity, molding him into an individual who understood the power of perception and the art of the con. In this crucible of urban life, Frank Abagnale was not just growing up. He was evolving, transforming into a master of manipulation and deceit. The city, with its relentless rhythm and hidden opportunities, was not just a backdrop to his life, but an active participant in the forging of a legend that would soon captivate the world with its audacity and brilliance. Frank's descent into the world of delinquency was a gradual yet seemingly inevitable slide, a slow dance into the murky waters of deception and crime. The early days of his association with local miscreants marked the beginning of this descent, a time when Frank's life started veering off the conventional path laid out before him. The streets of New York became his playground. His initial antics were nothing more than the typical rebellious acts of youth, sneaking into movie theaters, stealing candy, and the like. But for Frank, these petty crimes were more than mere acts of rebellion. They were the first steps in honing his skills in manipulation and deceit. Each successful escapade emboldened him, fueling a growing sense of invincibility and a thirst for greater challenges. His child's play soon escalated to more serious transgressions. The pivotal moment came when Frank and his associates crossed a line, their audacity culminating in the theft of a car. This reckless act brought them face to face with the consequences of their actions, as they found themselves ensnared in the grasp of the law. The brief taste of juvenile detention served as a stark wake-up call, a moment of reckoning that exposed the grim realities lurking beneath the thrilling veneer of their escapades. In the aftermath of this incident, Frank's father, leveraging his political connections, managed to extricate his son from the grips of the juvenile justice system. It was a pivotal intervention that erased any official record of the incident, but also served as a profound turning point in Frank's life. His father's words, a blend of disappointment and wisdom, resonated with Frank, urging him to abandon the foolishness of youth and embrace the responsibilities of adulthood. Yet, the intervention did more than just rescue Frank from immediate trouble. It inadvertently set the stage for the grander schemes that were to come. The realization that connections, influence, and the right words could alter one's fate planted a seed in Frank's mind, a seed that would soon grow into a complex web of deceit and fraud. As Frank resumed his life, ostensibly on a path of rectitude, the lessons learned from his early dalliances with crime lingered in the shadows of his consciousness. The thrill of outwitting the system, the rush of bending rules, and the allure of living on the edge had left an indelible mark on him. The mundane routines of everyday life could no longer contain the ambitions of a young man whose eyes had been opened to the malleable nature of reality. In this crucible of experiences, Frank Abagnale was not just recovering from a misstep. He was quietly crafting the persona of a mastermind, a persona that would soon take the world by storm. The symphony of deceit was about to begin, and Frank, with his newfound understanding of the art of manipulation, was ready to take the conductor's baton and lead the performance of a lifetime. The taste of easy money, first savored in a gas station scam, lingered on his tongue, whetting his appetite for grander schemes. The mobile gas card, a token of his father's trust, became the instrument of his first great con, weaving a web of transactions that left his father unknowingly entangled in his son's burgeoning life of crime. Yet, when confronted, Frank's youthful charm and a concocted tale of romantic entanglements diffused the tension, leaving only a father's resigned smile and a mother's deepening concern. Frank's journey into adulthood was accelerated by necessity and fueled by ingenuity. With each passing day, he donned new masks: pilot, doctor, lawyer, each more audacious than the last. The skies of Pan Am, the corridors of Smithers General Hospital, and the courtrooms of Louisiana became stages for his performances, each act executed with the precision of a seasoned artist. As a pilot, in the kaleidoscope of Frank Abagnale's life, this stint stands out as a masterstroke of audacity and charm. Donning the prestigious uniform of a Pan Am pilot, Frank didn't just impersonate an aviator. He embodied the role, weaving a reality so convincing that the world couldn't help but take him at his word. This chapter of his life was not just about the art of deception, it was about the art of becoming, a testament to Frank's uncanny ability to slip into roles that were as grandiose as they were implausible. Frank's journey into the skies began not in the cockpit, but on the bustling streets of Manhattan. It was there, amidst the hum of the city, that the idea took flight. The sight of an aircrew from Eastern Airlines emerging from the Commodore Hotel struck a chord within him, igniting the flame of possibility. The uniform, the respect, the allure of the skies, all of it called out to Frank, pulling him towards a destiny that was as daring as it was dangerous. The first step was the uniform, the costume that would transform Frank from a mere mortal to a figure of authority and respect. With the audacity that would become his trademark, Frank walked into a uniform supply store, posing as a Pan Am pilot in urgent need of a replacement uniform. The ease with which he slipped into this role, the confidence with which he claimed his false identity, set the stage for what was to become one of the most storied escapades in the annals of con artistry. But a uniform alone does not make a pilot. Frank knew that to truly inhabit this role, he needed the insignia of credibility, a pilot's ID card. With a blend of resourcefulness and cheek, he procured a model Pan Am plane, extracting its logo to adorn his fabricated ID card. This was Frank's ticket to the skies, his passport to a world where reality was his to mold. The real test came at LaGuardia Airport, where Frank, now cloaked in the garb of a Pan Am co-pilot, had to navigate the terrain of suspicion and scrutiny. It was here, in the hallowed halls of aviation, that Frank's mettle was put to the test. His encounters with real pilots, his brush with questions he barely understood, all added layers to the character he was playing. Yet, through a mix of charm, wit, and sheer audacity, Frank turned every potential pitfall into a stepping stone, each challenge into an opportunity to refine his persona. The climax of Frank's aerial adventure came when he took to the skies, not as a passenger, but as a deadheading pilot, a term used for off-duty flight crew traveling to or from work. This was the moment when Frank's deception took flight, literally. Sitting in the cockpit, surrounded by the instruments of aviation, Frank was no longer just impersonating a pilot. He was living the life of one. The flights he took, the cities he visited, the people he met, all became threads in the rich tapestry of his life as a Pan Am pilot. Yet, beneath the veneer of glamour and adventure, there was a profound truth that Frank was living out. A truth about identity, about the power of perception, and about the fine line between reality and illusion. In his time as a pilot, Frank Abagnale didn't just fool the world, he challenged it to question the very notions of truth and trust, leaving behind a legacy that was as enigmatic as it was extraordinary. When he realized the risk of being a pilot outweighed the rewards, he moved on to the world of medicine. As a doctor, Frank Abagnale's bold leap from sky-high impersonation to the corridors of medicine was perhaps one of the most daring chapters in his life's narrative. He once again proved he had a keen eye for opportunity and an understanding of human psychology. The stage for this new act in Frank's life was set in Atlanta, Georgia, where, on a spur-of-the-moment decision, he listed his occupation as a medical doctor while applying for a long-term lease on an apartment. When questioned, he nonchalantly claimed to be a pediatrician on a sabbatical from California, in town to audit some research papers. It was a story spun from the very fabric of audacity, yet it held together, intricately woven by Frank's unwavering confidence. However, Frank's tale soon took an unexpected turn when a knock at the door introduced him to his new neighbor, Dr. Willis Granger, the chief resident pediatrician at the local hospital. The real doctor's presence posed a palpable threat to Frank's fabricated identity, but fortune favored the bold, and Frank's narrative remained intact, untouched by the probing conversations and passing interactions with Dr. Granger. Yet, it wasn't just luck that shielded Frank from exposure. He dedicated himself to studying pediatric medicine, burying himself in books and medical journals at the local library, mastering the language and lore of the field he had so brazenly claimed as his own. His diligence was not in pursuit of healing, but of believability, a testament to his commitment to the art of deception. Frank's charade took a perilous turn when he was invited by Dr. Granger to tour the Smithers General Hospital. What started as a casual visit soon escalated, and Frank found himself walking the halls of the hospital, not as an observer, but as a participant. The inevitable happened when the hospital administrator, in a moment of need, asked Frank to cover a midnight shift for a doctor who was away. Despite his initial hesitations, Frank's appetite for challenge overruled his caution, and he found himself agreeing to step into the role of a supervising night shift doctor. The 10 days that followed were a high-wire act of improvisation and quick thinking. Frank adopted the persona of a rule-breaking, unconventional doctor, channeling the character of Hawkeye Pierce from the TV show MASH. He navigated the hospital corridors with a blend of charisma and evasiveness, steering clear of situations that could reveal his lack of medical expertise. When faced with direct medical challenges, he cleverly deflected, allowing the interns to take the lead while he observed and nodded, a silent maestro orchestrating a symphony of deceit. Frank's tenure at the hospital extended beyond the initial 10 days, stretching into 11 months of treading the fine line between impersonation and exposure. It was a period marked by constant vigilance, a testament to his ability to adapt and survive in an environment that was as foreign as it was dangerous. Yet, beyond the thrill and the cunning, Frank's time posing as a doctor was a profound commentary on the nature of trust and authority. He exposed the vulnerabilities in a system that placed its faith in uniforms and titles, challenging the very foundations of professional credibility. In assuming the role of a doctor, Frank Abagnale didn't just add another chapter to his tale of deception. He held up a mirror to society, reflecting the unsettling truth about how easily reality can be reshaped by the hands of a masterful impostor. And then, Frank became a lawyer. In the ever-unfolding saga of Frank Abagnale's life, his foray into the legal world marked yet another daring chapter. After leaving behind the white coat of a fake doctor, Frank ventured into the solemn corridors of law, a realm governed by the weight of words and the power of persuasion. It was a field seemingly impervious to the likes of a con artist, yet Frank, with his insatiable appetite for challenge and his ingenious mind, was undeterred. Frank's journey into the legal domain was as spontaneous as it was audacious. Settling in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, he found himself amidst a new social circle, one that included an assistant state's attorney, Jason Wilcox. It was during a casual conversation at a party, sparked by a mention of a supposed law degree from Harvard, that Frank's path took an unexpected turn. Wilcox, perceiving Frank as a bright, articulate, and potentially valuable asset, suggested he take the Louisiana bar exam and join the ranks of the state's legal practitioners. The suggestion was like a siren's call to Frank. The idea of not just impersonating, but actually becoming a lawyer, of infiltrating the sacred sanctum of the legal profession, was a challenge he couldn't resist. With a blend of audacity and meticulous preparation, Frank embraced the task. His first 2 attempts at the bar exam were unsuccessful, but failure only sharpened his resolve. On his 3rd attempt, his relentless self-education and natural cunning bore fruit. He passed, weaving yet another strand into his intricate web of deception. Frank's entry into the legal world was not as a flamboyant courtroom maestro, but rather in a role that skirted the limelight. He secured a position within one of the Attorney General's civil departments, a job that, while lacking the grandeur of a high-profile attorney, offered him the anonymity he needed. It was a balancing act of maintaining a low profile while basking in the silent glory of having infiltrated one of the most respected professions. However, Frank's life in the legal domain was not without its perils. By this time, he was in a relationship with a woman named Gloria. Her Methodist faith led him to a church committee where he sat alongside a genuine Harvard Law School graduate. The probing, specific questions from a real member of the legal fraternity threatened to pierce the veil of Frank's carefully constructed persona. It was a reminder that in the world of law, where every word is measured and every credential scrutinized, the risk of exposure loomed larger than ever. Ultimately, it was this ever-present threat, this dance on the razor's edge of truth and fabrication, that led Frank to relinquish his brief tenure as a lawyer. As he stepped away from Baton Rouge and the legal life he had conjured, Frank left behind not just a job, but a chapter marked by his fearless challenge of the sanctity of the legal profession. His time as a lawyer was more than just another scam. It was a testament to his unparalleled ability to adapt, to learn, and to convincingly wear the mask of legitimacy in a world that prided itself on its ability to discern truth from deceit. Yet, the pursuit of deception is a path fraught with shadows. The glimmer of adventure and the allure of respectability gradually gave way to the darker realities of a life on the run. The globe-trotting escapades, once thrilling, became a desperate dance to stay one step ahead of the law, a dance that, in a quiet French town, came to an abrupt halt. It was the charm of southern France, in the quiet town of Montrechard, that became the setting for his downfall. Frank's world came crashing down when he was apprehended based on an Interpol warrant. The warrant originated from Sweden, where his penchant for writing fraudulent checks during a masquerade as a Pan Am employee had caught the attention of authorities. The Swedes sought his extradition to face the consequences of his actions. However, the French authorities, upon discovering his extensive trail of deceit on their soil, refused to let him slip away. France had become an unwitting canvas for Frank's fraudulent artistry, and now it demanded its due. His game of cat and mouse had reached a climactic turn. In France, Frank was sentenced to a year in prison, a term that was eventually reduced to 6 months. His time at Perpignan prison was a harrowing experience, a stark contrast to the glamorous life he had once led. The conditions were abysmal, and the impact on Frank was profound. His weight plummeted, and the once suave impostor found himself facing the grim reality of his actions, confined within the bleak walls of a foreign prison. Upon completing his sentence in France, Frank's journey of atonement continued in Sweden. He was extradited to face the music for the fraudulent checks that had set the wheels of his capture in motion. In Sweden, he served another 6 months at Malmo prison, each day a reflection of the tangled web he had woven across continents. Frank's odyssey of deception had come full circle when U.S. federal officers took custody of him upon his release from Malmo prison. He was transported back to the United States, where the weight of his past transgressions awaited him. After a third trial, he was sentenced to 12 years in prison for multiple cases of fraud. His time in U.S. custody was marked by daring escapes and subsequent recaptures, each episode adding layers to the legend of Frank Abagnale. Imprisonment in France and Sweden, the harrowing conditions, and the weight of his actions bore down on Frank, chiseling away the facade of the charming con artist to reveal a man confronted by the consequences of his choices. His extradition and subsequent trials in the United States marked the closing of a tumultuous chapter, but also the opening of a door to redemption. In the quietude of his cell, a transformation unfolded. An offer to assist the authorities presented itself, and it marked the beginning of Frank Abagnale's metamorphosis from a notorious fraudster to a guardian against fraud. His subsequent release set the stage for a life dedicated to illuminating the very shadows he once inhabited, guiding corporations and the FBI through the labyrinthine world of deception he knew all too well. He spent 4 decades bringing fraudsters to justice. Today, Frank Abagnale's legacy is not defined by the youthful escapades that once captivated the world's imagination, but by the wisdom born of his experiences. In the serene landscape of Charleston, South Carolina, he stands as a testament to the possibility of change, a beacon of hope for those navigating the treacherous waters he once sailed. His story, a tapestry woven from the threads of temptation, redemption, and service, reminds us that even the most wayward journey can lead to a destination filled with purpose and meaning. Join the conversation. Drop a comment to share your thoughts and insights. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more captivating content. Thanks for tuning in to Really Unreal. Join us next time for another fascinating true crime story. Stay curious, stay connected, stay with Really Unreal.